Howdy my totally tubular gamers, and we are back for yet again another ranking video. Now today's ranking video, we're going to be ranking the BattleToads games. If you didn't know, BattleToads is a series of beat-em-ups developed by the wonderful Rareware. The series was made kind of as a parody of TMNT, which was really popular at the time. The games star three anthropomorphic toads named Rash, Zitz, and Pimple. And really, it was just about these three toads beating the crap out of everything and trying to stop the Dark Queen. The original couple games were released in the early to mid-90s. There was even a crossover with Double Dragon. However, the game series would actually go on a 25-year hiatus and would actually come back for the Xbox One in modern day. So over the years, there have actually been 6 BattleToads games. These games are, like I said, primarily beat-em-ups, but there are some other genres thrown in here as well. The other thing that BattleToads is known for, in fact the thing that it's primarily known for, is being fucking impossible. BattleToads is notorious for being one of the hardest video game series, if not the hardest series of video games ever created. It is hard as shit. I can say for me personally, it is definitely the hardest series of video games I've ever played in my life. These games are not messing around. They are very, very difficult. And I'll be honest with you, because I like you, other than the 2020 BattleToads, I have not beat a single one of these games without save states or some kind of rewind function. These games are just way too hard for even me, and I can't beat these games under normal circumstances. So if you're going to call me a loser, a cheater, a zoomer, whatever in the comments, just tell me now. Just put it in the comments. Make sure to dislike the video as well, and share and subscribe and all that. That is much appreciated. But anyway, I thought we should rank the BattleToads games. Yes, I thought it would be fun to rank the 5 BattleToads games against each other, and we're going to base it off of quality, difficulty, and how much fun I had with the game. But with all that in mind, let's get started. What do I think is the low point of the BattleToads series? I think the low point of the BattleToads series is BattleToads on the Game Boy. Now, I would say that BattleToads does not actually have a bad game in its series. I would say even the lowest point, this Game Boy game here, is actually semi-decent. I would say this isn't a bad game, and this is a competent enough BattleToads game. It's BattleToads on Game Boy, and it's not a port, it's actually an original BattleToads game. This is the only single-player BattleToads game as it is on Game Boy, and true to BattleToads tradition, this game is absolutely impossible. I've never played a Game Boy game this hard in my life. There are 9 stages to the game. Most of the stages are a beat-em-up, so you're going around just beating up these dudes, you're kicking their ass, you're stomping them into the ground, you're punching them off screen, good stuff. Then we get to the vehicle sections that are in the game. That makes me want to rip my hair out. This game requires a really good memory, really good reflexes, a lot of trial and error, and most of all, patience, because this game is going to kick your ass. 3 lives, 3 continues to beat the game. Good luck. Despite all this, it's a more than competent game. It's actually pretty alright. It's pretty decent. I mean, I'm not going to say it's like great or anywhere near as good as these other BattleToads games, but it is alright. And when it comes to Game Boy games, I gotta say, this is one of the better ones I've played. I don't really like most Game Boy games, but this is actually competent. This is alright. Could I recommend this game in this day and age? Not really. There's plenty of other BattleToads games you could play that are better, but I mean, if you're curious, it exists, and it's not the worst thing in the world. Now, the 5th best BattleToads game, in my opinion, is BattleToads and Double Dragon. Yeah, BattleToads actually had a crossover with Double Dragon. Honestly, if BattleToads were going to cross over with any series, I really think Double Dragon would be the best series for them to cross over. If you don't know Double Dragon somehow, they are also a beat-em-up series. However, those games are nowhere near as hard as BattleToads, but this is a really cool crossover. You can play as any of the Toads and Billy and Jimmy from Double Dragon. The game plays much more like a BattleToads game rather than a Double Dragon game. There are 7 levels, and almost all of them are just beat-em-up action, and this is beat-em-up goodness, I will say that. There is one level that is a shooter, and that's interesting. There are actually a few versions of this game, but I'm just covering all the versions of this game in this list, and this is a fun little crossover. It doesn't do anything groundbreaking, and I wouldn't say it's one of the very best BattleToads games, but it is a fine enough game, and it is a decent little beat-em-up. And it's not stupidly hard, and there's really no vehicle levels, and it doesn't make me want to pull my hair out, so there is that.
And this is now BattleToads is back and badder than ever.
Now, the 4th best BattleToads game, in my opinion, is BattleToads on NES. Yes, the original. The original Battletoads actually has a bit of a cult following these days, thanks to its surprisingly varied gameplay, especially for an NES game, extreme difficulty, and just charming characters. The story sees the Toads taking on the Dark Queen, and that's pretty much it. The gameplay is mostly a beat-em-up, where you just go around just punching the crap out of these other minions that the Dark Queen sends at you. It's really satisfying to go around beating these dudes up. Sure, you only have one button and it's a one-button combo, but I actually really like how the Battletoads morph into these giant fists and boots and all this other stuff to just kick the crap out of these dudes. I'd even argue this might be the best beat-em-up on the NES, which is actually saying something. The game's even co-op. You and a buddy can go around beating these dudes to a pulp. And while the beat-em-up stuff isn't that hard, we get to the other gameplay elements of this game. This game has a bit of other gameplay elements to it that are just very difficult. There are levels where you're descending a tunnel. These aren't that hard, but you can attack your partner at the same time, which is, well, that's annoying. There's platforming areas. These are definitely not easy. This is a very challenging platformer on top of being a beat-em-up. And then we get to the vehicle sections. Oh boy, the vehicle sections. To say that the vehicle sections in Battletoads are hard, it's not just hard, it's really hard. I'm pretty sure a majority of players who played the original Battletoads on NES never got past the turbo tunnel. Like, they just never were able to. I wasn't able to until I got the rare replay with the rewind, because this shit is hard, man. This isn't just hard, this is like fucking hard, man. To quote a famous man, it'd be easier to go out into a thunderstorm and try to dodge rain. I'd argue Battletoads is probably the hardest game ever made. I'd be really hard pressed to think of a game that's harder than the original Battletoads on NES. Maybe like I Want to Be the Guy, that's a pretty hard one, but Battletoads on NES. Should you even play the game nowadays? Can I recommend it? I mean, you go ahead and try it. You can go ahead and try any of these games, but good luck making it past the turbo tunnel in this game. Good luck. The next game on our list is Battletoads and Battlemaniacs, released for the Super Nintendo. This game is the true follow-up to the original Battletoads game, and it really is the sequel that builds on the original game. Not only is it one of the graphically best-looking games on the Super Nintendo, but it plays great also. And the game retains that extremely high level of challenge, as this game is not easy and is definitely one of the hardest Super Nintendo games probably ever made. The game is split into 6 stages, and each stage is actually very different from the last, where there's a beat-em-up level, there's a racing level, there's these bonus levels where you get to stand on this like circular pod thing and try to get extra lives, there's a level where you're going down this hole. It's very different every level. And this level of variety really is great, as I think that it prevents the game from getting stale, and inevitably when you have to replay certain sections, it doesn't get old because it's always so different. I will say that the bosses that are in this game are no joke. They will kick your ass. They are not easy. This game is not easy, and I am certain a lot of people never even made it past stage 2 in this game because this is not easy at all. I mean, at least when you're replaying these stages, you get to listen to the game's awesome soundtrack. Like, don't get me wrong, the original Battletoads, it had some alright music, it had a really good pause theme, but Battletoads and Battlemaniacs, the music is really stellar in this game, I will say. If you're looking for arguably the best beat-em-up on the Super Nintendo, I really don't think you can go wrong with this one. I mean, if you can get past the second level, but if you can get past the game's extreme difficulty, you'll find one of the best beat-em-ups on the system, as it is very well done. And my second favorite Battletoads is actually the 2020 reboot. Yeah, I actually really enjoyed the brand new Battletoads that came out last year. I know that when the game was released, there was a little bit of a backlash when it came to the game's presentation, and the general reception of the game was meh at best, but I genuinely think that this is one of the most underrated games on the Xbox these days. The game sees the Battletoads coming back after 20 plus years to basically fight the Dark Queen, only to find out that they're going to fight these aliens instead, and I actually really thoroughly enjoyed the story of Battletoads. It's the only one with a really in-depth story, and I actually quite liked it. I like all the Toads, I like their personalities, I like the Dark Queen, I like her personality, I like the antagonists. I really thoroughly enjoyed the plot. I thought it was like a cheesy Saturday morning cartoon, which is pretty much what Battletoads has always been. I mean, there even was an actual cartoon for Battletoads, but we're not going to talk about that. When it comes to the game's presentation, I can see why some fans were miffed and think that it looks like a Newgrounds Flash game, and sure, there is some merit to that, but I actually really thoroughly enjoyed the art style as well, because I thought it really gave the Toads a lot of expression, a lot of detail, and kept it really cartoony. I don't really want to see an ultra-realistic looking Battletoads. I don't think that's the direction that Battletoads should take. That's personally what I think, but I like the art style, and I thought the gameplay was actually really fun as well. This game, I will say, is definitely the easiest game on this list, and I'm sure that murked old-time fans that the game is not ultra difficult, but you know, it didn't need to be like the hardest game ever made. It can just be challenging. That's fine with me. And I feel like the developers really understood what the original Battletoads games were. They weren't just straight beat-em-ups, there was other genres thrown in here as well. Sure, is there maybe a little too many other genres thrown into this new one? Maybe, but I still think that the core beat-em-up action is quite good. The game still retains its co-op playability. You can switch between any of the Toads at any time. They all have different combos and special moves. The game is full of fan service. Tons of callbacks and throwbacks to the original games. The music is really nice. There's a lot of great remixes and redos of old tracks. The turbo tunnel doesn't make me want to pull my hair out. I really enjoyed a lot of the different genres thrown in there. I like the chill platforming levels that are thrown in here. And overall, it's just a really nice experience. I don't really see why the game was so mixed to just negatively received. I really don't. I had a really nice time with it, and I thought the game was actually even pretty funny as well. Some people thought it was just aggressively unfunny, apparently. And I have no problem recommending this new Battletoads game. I would say it's very underrated. It's on the Game Pass. You can play it for $1 or whatever. And I mean, just try it and see if it's your thing. It's also the most accessible of these games, that's for sure. But if you're at all curious of the Battletoads in general, you should really just check this new game out.
Barrel roll with Battletoads.
And what do I think is the best Battletoads game of them all? I think it's BattleToads Arcade, which you can play on the Rare Replay. I think this really is the most underrated of the Battletoads games, and I think it's the best of the Battletoads games. I think the beat-em-up action is the best in this game than it's ever been, and it feels the most satisfying, it's the most solid, and just destroying these dudes is like really nice. This game is also pretty bloody, as it was an arcade game, which that's always good in my book. The game looked really nice when the game came out as well. I mean, it was an arcade game versus a console game, but it looked really awesome. The Toads looked awesome, and the way they kicked ass was even more awesome. The game features 6 levels, and most of these levels are just straight beat-em-up action. There is one where you're going down a tube, and then there's one when you have a gun just shooting stuff down, but it is mostly beat-em-up action, and this is exactly what you'd want from a Battletoads beat-em-up game. You are just destroying tons of dudes, you are kicking their ass, you are kicking them to the curb, you're kicking them out of the freaking screen. That's just breaking the fourth wall at that point, but you know, it's a really good time. And obviously, with this being an arcade game, the game wants your money. It's going to be stupidly difficult. Luckily, the Rare Replay version, you just get infinite continues, because I can't imagine trying to spend any real-life money on this game. You would be out of hundreds of dollars the first time you played through this game on arcade, because it is not easy at all. The enemies have no problem just tearing you down and kicking your ass. Especially the bosses. The bosses, like, they will just tear you down. Like, they will legit just tear you down. But luckily, you can tear them down as well. You get some weapons in this game, and you just mow them down, and it's really fun. The music is probably my favorite music in the entire Battletoads series, and it's definitely the most high quality minus the 2020 game. Now, I never hear anybody talk about this Battletoads game. I think if they're talking about Battletoads, they're going to either talk about the game's stupidly hard challenge, or they're going to talk about the original game, or usually both. And I think that's really doing a disservice to the entire franchise, especially Battletoads Arcade. This is a very underrated beat-em-up that I think anyone who likes beat-em-ups should absolutely try, because it is a really nice time. It's on the Game Pass through Rare Replay, and you couldn't really go wrong with it, especially with some buddies. I think that it's ultimately the definitive Battletoads experience, and it's what you should play more than any of these other games. I mean, if you're curious about some of these older games where you're just not going to beat it without save states at this point unless you're really good, I mean, there is that, but I really do think that Battletoads Arcade you'll have the best time with, as it's just exactly what you'd want from a beat-em-up. It really is. It's just straight beat-em-up goodness from the 90s that we don't get anymore. We don't get any games like Battletoads anymore, and when we do, they're usually just kind of mixed reception like Battletoads 2020. It's easily one of Rare's most underrated games, and I think Battletoads these days, pretty forgotten, pretty underrated. and pretty just lost to time. But, you know, it happens. They actually came back, so, I mean, that's better than I can say for a lot of other series from the 90s. Like, who knows when we're going to get our new Gex game. Where's Gex? Anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell me what your favorite Battletoads is in the comments, or how you want to rip your hair off because the game is so hard. Anyway, have a good Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, Chinese New Year's, Valentine's Day. I don't know. Have a good something.